Hey Raiders, this is Mr. Simmons, and today we're going to be talking about circles. The definition of a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are a fixed distance called the radius from a fixed point called the center. The equation of a circle in standard form is as follows. A circle of radius r with center at point h, k has the following equation. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared, where the point h, k is the center and r is the radius. Now let's look at an example related to the standard form of the equation of a circle. The question asks, graph the circle represented by x minus 5 quantity squared plus y minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 9, and then clearly label the center and the radius. Now, if you have an idea how to do this, why don't you hit pause and give it a try, and then hit play to see how we do it. Now, the first thing that I would want to do is to find the center of the circle. The way you do this is you set each quantity inside the parentheses equal to 0 to find the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate of the center. So I'm going to set x minus 5 equal to 0, and I'm going to set y minus 1 equal to 0. When I solve both of those for the variables, I'm going to get x is equal to 5 by adding 5 to both sides, and y equals 1 by adding 1 to both sides. Therefore, the center of the circle is 5, 1. Now, to find the radius of the circle, you take the constant term that the problem is equal to. And since that represents r squared, we need to figure out what r is to find the radius. So since r squared is equal to 9, to figure out what the radius r is, we would just square root both sides, and you get r equals 3. So the center of our circle is at 5, 1, and the radius of the circle is 3. So to sketch that graph, let's sketch a simple xy axis. We're going to plot the point 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and 1 up. So that's the center. And then the radius is 3, so I could go up 3 units. 1, 2, 3, put a dot there. Go down 3 units. 1, 2, 3, put a dot there. I could go right 3 units. 1, 2, 3, put a dot there. And go left 3 units. 1, 2, 3, and put a dot there. And I could draw my circle. Okay, your circle's probably going to be better than mine. Okay, but regardless, that's what the circle looks like. Okay, and if we want to label that, okay, we can label that with the center would be 5, 1, and the radius would be equal to 3. Okay, in our next example, we were asked to graph the circle represented by x minus 2 quantity squared plus y plus 3 quantity squared is equal to 12, and clearly label the center and the radius. So again, if you have an idea of how to do this problem, why don't you hit pause and give it a try, and then you can hit play and see how you did. So the first thing we did in the last problem is we figured out what the center was, the location of the center of the circle. And we did this by taking each quantity that was being squared, and we set each of those values equal to 0, and we solve for the variables. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set x minus 2 equal to 0, and we're going to set y plus 3 equal to 0. And when we add 2 to both sides, you get x is equal to 2, and when you subtract 3 from both sides, you get y equals negative 3. So the center of our circle is located at the point 2, negative 3. Now the next step is to figure out what the radius of the circle is, or the distance from the center to the edge of the circle. All right, we did this by taking the constant term in the equation and setting that equal to r squared, because in the standard form of the circle, the constant term is r squared. So we set r squared is equal to 12, and then in order to figure out the radius, we would have to figure out the value of r. To do that, we would square root both sides, and you get r is equal to square root of 12. And if we simplify that in radical form, okay, that would be equal to 2 square roots of 3. And in order to graph that, we would need to know that decimal value. And if we were to type that in the calculator, we would estimate that to be 3.5. So now we're ready to graph. So let me change colors here, and let's go graphing. So the first thing I'm going to do is sketch my XY axis. I'm going to plot my center point, and the center is at 2, -3. So let's get to 2, -3. So this would be my center point. I'm going to label that with the letter C. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to try to find the distance from the center to the edge by using the radius. And since it's approximately 3.5, I'm going to go up 3.5 from the center point, okay, which would be approximately here, and 3.5 to the right from the center point, which would be approximately here, 3.5 down from the center point, that would be approximately here, and 3.5 to the left, that would be approximately here. So now I have enough to draw my circle. Okay, and again, your circle is probably going to be better than mine. And let's label the center. Okay, so our center, again, was 2, -3. And our radius, okay, was equal to 2 square roots of 3 in simplest radical form. Or if we want to estimate that, that was approximately 3.5 units long. Okay, in our final example here, it says to graph the circle represented by x squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 49, and clearly label the center and the radius like we've done in the past. Okay, if you have an idea of what you're doing, then hit pause and give it a try, and then hit play to see how you did. All right, so now let's begin this problem. So now this one's a little unique, okay, because we're missing that first quantity that is being squared with the x value when it says x squared. So you have to be a little intuitive about what that actually means in standard form. So the reason they write just x squared is because the x coordinate of the center point is equal to 0. And the reason that is because if I wanted to write it in standard form, it would look like this. It would be x minus 0 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 49. And since x plus or minus 0 is simply x, it just cleans it up if we write it as x squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 49. So that just cleans it up. So that's what the problem actually means. So that being said, we know that the x coordinate of the center is going to be equal to 0. To figure out the y coordinate of the center, we would have to set y minus 3 equal to 0, and then by adding 3 to both sides, we get y equals 3. Therefore, the center of the circle would be at 0, 3. Now to figure out the radius, again, we're going to be taking a look at this value over here, this constant term over on this side, okay, and that is equal to r squared. That's the radius squared is equal to 49. So to figure out what the radius actually is, we would have to square root both sides, and you would get r is equal to 7. So we know that the center of the circle is at 0, 3, and the radius is equal to 7. So now let's get graphing. I'm going to put an xy axis, and I'm going to plot the point 0, 3. Okay, so 0, 3 would be here. And I'll label that with the letter C for center. And then the radius is 7. So from the center point, I'm going to go up 7, down 7, right 7, and left 7. So if I go up 7, it would be approximately here. To the right 7, it would be over here. Down 7, it would be approximately here. And then to the left 7, it would be approximately here. So again, your circle probably is going to be better than mine. That one's not too bad. All right, and so the center again of our circle, okay, is equal to 0, 3, and the radius of our circle is equal to 7. Well, everyone, that's our introduction to circles. We have a lot more to go, but if you have any further questions, see or contact Mr. Simmons. You can email me or you can follow me on Twitter. And remember, everyone, we're all in this together, man. Go Raiders!